Hi, good afternoon. It's Gene from maverickstar Observatory. As was promised the other day, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the video I put up a couple of days ago and a few of the things that are related to our general topic here on the channel. Before we do, I just want to say a big thanks to those few people that have, pledged a bit of support for the channel. And if I can, a bit later on, just mention the link where, if you want to help, us here at the observatory, you can do by, making a donation at the end of the video. Okay, so, big thanks to not only those people the other day that have made, a little bit of a contribution, but big thanks to everyone that helps us out here at the observatory. So let's get on with it. The other day I was talking about what Davos was saying. I know, right, from the comment section, some people think I've only just come across this, but it's not. I've just chose to talk about it now because I think it's relevant with regards to a lot of things, and I'll explain in this video. But basically, the topic of the video the other day was what was said at Davos. You will own nothing and you will be happy. And, I was... At the back of my mind, I was thinking about this, what we're looking at now. Possession is 9/10 of the law. I'll just read this. Possession is 9/10 of the law is an expression meaning that ownership is easier to maintain if one has possession of something, or difficult to enforce if one does not. So it's going to be difficult for us to enforce anything, and we're going to probably lose 9/10 of the law. If anyone's ever studied law, one thing that will be apparent is that whenever there is a legal battle, it is always over something, possession of something, of one way or another. The other thing I've mentioned in the video the other day was about a general talking about the grey zone. And, in not too many ways, he had admitted declaring a war on alternative sources of media. And, those people that didn't fall in line with the narrative of the government's agenda were considered domestic terrorists. There's something that's been building up for a long time now. First of all, we heard about terrorists and the atrocity that was attached to 9/11 and things like that. Now we're hearing more about homegrown terrorists and domestic terrorists. And it's funny because now they consider conspiracy theorists and people with alternative views as domestic terrorists. The other day I was talking about in that video America, and just as a few pointers, what they considered domestic terrorists were people that believed the 2020 elections was rigged, people that didn't believe in the coronavirus, and other things as well. Now, the British government at the moment, and I would say other governments around the world, are particularly upset with people having alternative views. I know that they've been labelled conspiracy theorists with regards to vaccines to cure people or prevent them getting, COVID-19. And they have now asked social media sites such as YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, etc., where people can form a little group to have pressure put on those groups to stop them, going against the government's agenda. They believe that there are certain people that won't take the vaccine now because of what has been said on some social media websites. Now, in particular, I did mention, if you remember, about 4 weeks ago, something about the vaccine. I had a genuine, I believe, query about whether it would affect reproduction, and this was mentioned, to my surprise, on the news today. And as you guys know, I got a strike for that. I could have argued it. I could have said no, that this is a scientific view and it's an alternative view, and for that reason it should stand. But you know what, there's no point, I see, trying to argue with YouTube. And that's if you can at first get them to, acknowledge your complaint. So I didn't bother. I just accepted the strike. But I want to say this, guys, and this is why I said we need to start protesting big tech companies such as Amazon. And I know the CEO recently has just resigned from his position at Amazon, but nevertheless we should still go after it, even though a couple of days ago it got fined £60 million for not giving their drivers the tips. We should still go after Amazon and bring it down, crush it, just by boycotting it, because it will send a message back to the first of all, these big companies that go to Davos, and these billionaires that go to Davos every year. They couldn't this year, they had to do it all online, but they attend these meetings and come up with these crazy one-world government plans. And, there's a lot of, I'm just hoping that, at the end of this video that, all these little things that we've talked about does merge into a picture for you. And that you do understand that, we are in very critical times right now with regards to a lot of things that are going on. And we're not just talking about vaccines. You'll learn nothing and you'll be happy about it. Davos's cruel and wicked plans for the future of containment and suppression of us all. It's a lot of things, guys. These same governments around the world will not hear the truth on CO2. And, it's shocking, because now, today, in the city that I visit quite a lot, I can't even drive my car in that city unless I'm going to now pay a fee to do so, because they're considering my car to be a polluting car and not energy efficient. What they want to do is ban cars like mine going into the city because of the pollutants it puts out. Basically what they're talking about is CO2. They're still banging the drum about CO2. And anyone that talks about CO2, if you've not noticed, like Tony Ella, who's been banned again in twice now, I think he's been banned in about a period of 3 months from making videos, because he presents, evidence to rebut the claim that CO2 is driving the climate. So, what we're seeing, and this is what's concerning me, guys, is we're seeing a return to this Nazism that was very apparent in the late 1930s with regards to suppression of information. And this is a very, very serious matter, because when the governments start, asking for the help of social media sites and platforms to suppress conspiracy theorists and other alternative views, we've already at that point crossed a very specific line in that we are suppressing, actually, not just conspiracy theories or alternative views, but we are suppressing freedom of speech and freedom of information, just like the Nazis did just before the Second World War. Now, if you do a bit of research on, what was taking place then at the burning of the books, Crystal Knock, the Night of Broken Glass, you're going to find that, we're not in too dissimilar parallels. And my worry is that first they started to burn books, and then they started to burn people. Just think about that for a moment. I said the other day that, it'd be very difficult for us to, especially at the point in time that we're in with the pandemic, yeah? And it doesn't matter whether you believe in the pandemic or not. To me, it doesn't matter what your viewpoint is on that. What matters to me are the policies that have been brought out by the world governments as a result of this pandemic, because that really is what affects us. That's why the majority of us are, now restricted from movement and association in crowds. So what we've lost so far is the freedom to associate with more than a certain amount of people. The freedom of speech is being infringed on, and freedom of information is being infringed on, and it shouldn't make a difference whether it is conspiracy theories or alternative views. And the whole beauty of a democratic society is to allow these freedoms to exist. And when we start to see them being suppressed by the governments that we live with, we need to do something about it, guys. We cannot continue putting our heads in the sands. And that's why I believe there is a beauty in boycotting. I would love to, encourage people to regain unions, because these two things, boycotting and regaining unions and building unions, was really what put these suppressive governments in check. And if you look through the history, you'll see this has happened more than one occasion. And a good example is, if you want to do a bit of research, just look at how Poland kicked out Russia and the communism. Because this is exactly where we are today in the Western worlds. It's like, the cloak was through over us, but the light still shone through for a bit. But we are starting to see the darkness now emerge under this cloak. And the reason why I said, protest cannot succeed anymore, because we are met with police officers who lash out with truncheons and batons. They have riot shields to protect themselves. They have body armour. They have rubber bullets, tear gas, water cannons. And, for a lot of us, we have to put ourselves out to go to that protest in any case, usually to one of our, main cities, to, try and get something changed that we're not happy about. But we can't even do that now, because of the law that's associated with this pandemic prevents people congregating in larger groups than, probably 10. And if you organise these events, you can face not just an £800 fine for congregating in a group, you can also face up to £10,000 fine for organising an event. So they have stopped us fighting back and protesting for change. It's impossible to do that. And going back to Davos and all these rich elite people, this pandemic that we're in right now is going to be utilised to suppress people even more. You will have heard, I'm sure, the talk about the Great Reset. Well, the pandemic provides the perfect opportunity to do that. I'm going to continue boycotting Amazon forever until it's gone. And I hope that you guys do it. And I'm encouraging my family members to also boycott Amazon until we bring that company down. And then we will mention the next one. Once that company is brought to its knees and dissolved, then we will mention the next one we're going to bankrupt. And trust me, like I said, these billionaires are cannibals. They will milk the situation so that they profit on the next company that is mentioned folding up. They will short its shares. And, we will go after one after the next big blue chip high-tech company until we bring them, if we have to, all down. But we will reinstall the power back to the people of this earth. And I'm not just talking from the UK or America or Canada or Australia or New Zealand or, China. I'm talking the globe. We will put the power back into the people's hands by this online protest. Because I don't know how you feel about the future that we are leaving, the next generations to come. But my view of that is there is nothing for them, and we need to act today to change that. And I think it's beautiful boycotting, because we're not going to get hit with truncheons, we're not going to get rubber bulleted, we're not going to get hit with a water cannon or tear gassed. We're just going to use, our discretion and not purchase anything from Amazon, and that's it. There'll be no fines issued, but there'll be no laws broken. I'll leave you to, give some thought about what we've talked to, and I hope that we have managed to bring it all together so that, you get a clear picture of why we've talked about these topics. We really need to do something, guys. That's the bottom line. And we need to act very quickly on this. Okay. As I said, I was going to mention the link down there where you can donate to help support our observatory and some of the work we do. And I really hope that that we have encouraged over the last couple of weeks some people to do that. We're about a week away before we pull the SD card out of the Trimag system and do a pinpoint of the location of the magnetic North Pole. So I'd really appreciate it if we could get some support going for the observatory. And I will say what I usually do, look after your loved ones, be safe, and as always, bye for now.